Yes.
Did part of you feel guilty for encouraging Malala?
Most difficult questions which is often asked from me, and for me it's quite complex to answer, like complicated, because normally, usually, when most of the people find ourselves in such hard situation of conflict, so most of the people, they prefer to leave the area, to go away from the conflict zone, and their first priority is theirs and their family's safety. In our situation, it was not like that, because you know that I had 5 sisters and none of them could go to school, and education taught me that I should be a different father, and I was very keen about Malala's education, about Malala being herself. I named her after the Malala of Mevan, who was the legendary Pashtun Afghan heroine. She had her own name. Then I included her name in the family tree. Then when she entered the school, so all those dreams, I mean, what my sisters could not achieve because of being deprived from school, I was thinking of all those achievements through education. And that was the only way of emancipation for my daughter. And just imagine when that very right, when that is violated and that is denied, and that very dream is shattered, then obviously a person like me can't afford that loss. And I have told it many times that speaking for my right is in my DNA. And I could not compromise on the very basic human rights or my human dignity to be quiet and saying nothing.
Yeah.
So in our family, it was like father, like daughter. I did not like made Malala what Malala was. I just inspired her, and not only her. There may be my other students, other community leaders who would have inspired from my activism. So I gave her the environment of being herself, the environment to be expressing her views, her ideas, and the courage to stand, and the courage to raise her voice, and the courage to speak to power. So that was the training that I not only gave to her, but to all my students, and to you and to Atal. I mean, how much you would be able to practice it, and when you need it, that's up to you.
Yeah.
So, so far when it comes to the guilt, so the guilt part is, of course, I mean, when this biggest tragedy, when her life was attacked, and she was on the verge of life and death, and she was like almost killed, to be honest. That was the most difficult day. And though, like, why one should be guilty for doing something that was right? You feel guilty when you do something wrong. But of course, I'm a human being, and as you said, part of you. Yes, part of me, like, was thinking that should I feel guilty? Like, if I was not feeling guilty, but I did thought that should I feel guilty, or am I responsible?
Yeah.
And at that time, your mother Torpike came to my help, and I asked her, because whenever I face any problem, the first person I go to is Torpekai.
Yeah.
Your amazing, brave and brilliant and beautiful mother.
Even how you're telling me, like you would look, instead of looking into the mirror, you basically asked her.
I have told you many times that I believe in her wisdom so much that, or in her judgment so much that when I go out of my home for my school duty or for anything, so instead of standing in front of a mirror, I just dress up and stand up in front of her. And if she says, okay, then that is fine. So on that very day, when Malala was attacked, on that very day, at night time, I asked her that what is she thinking about it? And she was very clear. She told me that you stood for the right of peace and education. And like you, Malala also stood for her right of education and for peace in Swat. And you should never, never, ever be repenting for something that was very right. The people who attacked her should be ashamed of their actions, should be ashamed of themselves. And they should have repentance. They should be ashamed. And I think that was the last time that I asked someone, and that was the last time that I had that dilemma whether I should feel or not, and that was gone. So now you can imagine that later on, like for me, it would have been a lifelong question answer thing until my last minute in this world. God forbid if Malala had
passed
away, it would have been extremely difficult to explain to people who Malala actually was. And thanks God that she survived. It was a miracle that she survived. And she herself is witness to two things. And number one, she herself is a big evidence who she was and who she is, that I don't need to explain. Because the girl who was attacked and who spent some 3 months in the hospital and who went through multiple surgeries, after 8 or 9 months after her recovery, he went back to this stage, to the podium in the UN General Assembly, and she gave that historical speech that one child, one teacher, one book and one pen can change the world. So it was not me, it was Malala. And as she herself said that my father named me Malala, he didn't make me Malala.
That's beautiful.
So you cannot construct. It is not an engineering.
And you know,
you can inspire.
It's crazy because there were a lot of conspiracy theories and people like saying that, you know, there was kind of like they almost didn't believe that a person like her existed. And they were like, oh, it's her father basically puppeting her, and all those very unfair, let's not even call them criticism, this is basically it's all conspiracy, nonsense basically, and all you did was create an environment. So she you know, that you gave her that freedom to stand for justice herself.
Yes.
And you're right, like she stood. I agree with you. And like you said, her post incident activism is a evidence of that. But did it hurt you that you going through this extremely traumatic experience, and then people are basically making this nonsense that, oh, it never happened, it was fake? Did it get to you?